What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel, where we speak the truth, we're honest, and we give our takes on the Miami Dolphins. It is Friday, December 29th, 2023. We have 3 more days of the new year. This is the preview for the Baltimore Ravens Miami Dolphins game on Sunday in Baltimore, M&T Bank Stadium. Everything is on the line for both teams. The number 1 seed is most likely going to be determined unless any funkery happens in Week 18. The number 1 seed is on the line in this game. Both teams are going into this game with questions of who is going to play and who's not. We'll get into the injury report shortly that just came out around 4:30. And what makes this matchup so fascinating is these two teams played last year. And if you guys remember this game, this is probably my favorite Miami Dolphins game of all time. The big comeback when the Dolphins were down 35-14 to the Baltimore Ravens going into the fourth quarter, and Tua Tagovailoa threw 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win the game 42-38 over the Baltimore Ravens. He had nearly 500 passing yards in that game, 6 touchdowns. Just an absolute classic last year in Baltimore. But what makes this matchup so fascinating, I think, is both defenses are so much better than they were last year. The Miami Dolphins were ranked in the 20s last year in total defense, and Lamar Jackson had a field day against that Dolphins defense. And last year, in that matchup, the Ravens had a very banged-up secondary. They had an inexperienced Kyle Hamilton. Now he's one of the best safeties in the NFL. They had Marcus Peters, who's probably washed. A young quarter. I forget, Armour Davis, I believe it was. Marlon Humphrey didn't play in that game. Brandon Stevens was a backup. Roquan Smith was not on the Ravens at this point. He was still on the Chicago Bears. This has potential to be game of the year. And after the Ravens beat the 49ers, the media is calling them the best team in the NFL. And my goodness, some of the stuff that the national media has been saying about the Miami Dolphins this week. Oh my God. The Miami Dolphins have so much bulletin board material. It's not even funny. And if you think that these players haven't heard what the analysts are saying, you are sadly mistaken. You got Tyreek Hill seeing a video of Colin Cowherd saying the Miami Dolphins and their fans are looking for validation, and Tyreek Hill calls him a thug, and Colin Cowherd the next day goes on his show that nobody fucking watches and says, I don't really talk about what players say about me, and then the next 2.5 minutes he proceeds to talk about Tyreek Hill calling him a thug. And then yesterday, let me find this. Roquan Davis said something about Cowherd, and he said, how about a fuck you, boy, and you move on. And that was quote tweeting the video that Colin Cowherd put out saying the Miami Dolphins are making validation, or trying to get validation, and so are their fans. Today, you have Skip Bayless, Keyshawn Johnson on whatever Fox Sports 1 show they have saying that the Ravens are going to blow them out. They're saying so much unrealistic shit, man. Like, I would respect it if you just said I think the Ravens are going to beat the Dolphins. But the facts that they're backing it up with, and they're not the only people, is PFF and Pro Football Talk. The new narrative now is the Miami Dolphins are not a physical football team. And I can only count twice where the Miami Dolphins were not physical. The first loss against the Bills were just a better team flat out in that game, and the defense lost it for the Miami Dolphins to the point where the offense couldn't keep up with the Buffalo Bills. The Eagles game was handed to the Eagles by their referees. 10 penalties to 0 is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't even look at that as a bad loss. The two games where the Miami Dolphins opponent was more physical than them was the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tennessee Titans. And those are the only two teams that were more physical than the Miami Dolphins in their losses this year. So early in the season, I could have been like, okay. But then the second half of the season, besides that game against the Tennessee Titans, the Dolphins have gotten physical. And these people crack me up, man, because they don't take the time to go out and do their research. And you got people like PFF, Pro Football Focus, on their YouTube channel saying the Miami Dolphins pass rush is hit or miss. One day they could get back at you a lot, and the other day they can get one sack. And I just don't know how these people think this when the Dolphins are literally first in quarterback hits and they are second in sacks without blitzing in the NFL. Yet they're not a physical football team. The Miami Dolphins are top 5 in rushing. They're not a physical football team, though. The Dolphins' offensive line has allowed the 4th lowest sacks in the NFL this year. With how much they've been banged up this year, they've allowed the 4th fewest sacks this year. Yet they're not a physical football team. That is the new narrative now, that the Miami Dolphins beat a good team. Now it's, oh, they can't win on the road. Oh, they're not physical. I had my doubts, and you guys know that. I had my doubts the past couple weeks, and what I needed to see them do was I needed to see them go out and beat a good football team. That's exactly what they did. They beat the Cowboys, and now I have my faith in this team. But of course, you have the national media pushing the goalpost back for the Miami Dolphins. But I'll tell you what. If the Miami Dolphins can somehow go in there without Jalen Waddle, and they're probably going to be missing other guys too, if they could go into M&T Bank Stadium and beat the Baltimore Ravens, win the division, and take over as the number 1 seed, these analysts are going to have nothing to chirp about the Miami Dolphins in a negative way. What are they supposed to say now? They go to Baltimore and beat the Ravens. What are they supposed to say about the Miami Dolphins? So, let's shut them up. And don't think for a second that these players have not heard what the national media is saying about them. Yeah, Mike McDaniel's probably telling them not to pay attention, but they know. They know. And I really hope they use that as fucking motivation this week to go to Baltimore and beat the best team in the NFL. Beat the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to get into this game. I've got a lot to say about this game. We've got two fantastic matchups with the Dolphins offense against the Ravens defense and the Dolphins defense against the Ravens offense. We're going to talk about it all here today. I thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. I'm going to the game on Sunday. Very exciting. The last game I went to was the Tennessee Titans. That was brutal the way they lost that game. Part of me is still not over it. Part of me is. But if they lose this game to the Ravens, I feel like I'm a Miami Dolphins 2023 curse. So, yeah, I hope they don't lose this game because, I don't know. I just hope they don't lose this game. But we'll see what happens. I'm going to the game. I'm going to be vlogging. It'll be up probably Sunday night. I don't know what time, but it'll be up around late Sunday night during Sunday Night Football. Sunday night games, Packers, Vikings. I don't really care about that much. I don't really care about the game that much. So I'll be editing during that game. And yeah, I'll probably upload it Sunday night before the new year. Be sure to subscribe. And we're going to have more Dolphins content going into 2024. It's exciting. It's going to be awesome. We're in the playoffs. And the only seeds, with the Cleveland Browns clinching the playoffs, the only possibility the Miami Dolphins can have going into the postseason is they get the 1 seed, home field advantage, 2 seed, they get 2 guaranteed playoff games if they win Wild Card Weekend. And the worst case scenario, they lose these 2 games and they have to go on the road Wild Card Weekend. If that happens, we got a fucking problem. If they have to go on the road Wild Card Weekend after clinching a playoff spot on Christmas Eve, we've got a problem. So we have to win these games against the Ravens and the Bills. Let's get into it. The injury report came out today, and I'd be lying to you if I told you I was not nervous. I am nervous about this injury report. The Ravens have a couple big names as well, but they don't have as many as the Miami Dolphins. I just told you a couple minutes ago, Jalen Waddle's out on Sunday, which is not a shocker. Rest him up. I figured since last week, after what Mike McDaniel said on Monday, he was not going to play in this game. What I do believe is if the Ravens beat the Dolphins and next week's game is for the AFC East, he needs to play. He needs to play next week. And if the Dolphins beat the Ravens in Baltimore, they clinched the division. Even with the 1 seed up for grabs next week, I'm not playing Jalen Waddle because I want him healthy for the playoffs. If that's a 2 seed or the 1 seed overall, I want Jalen Waddle healthy for the postseason. So, rest him up. He's out this week. Robert Hunt is doubtful. He won't play on Sunday, but he did log in 2 limited practices, so he's very close to returning. Again, if the Dolphins win in Baltimore, I would not expect to see Robert Hunt until the postseason. If the Dolphins lose to the Ravens and next week's for the division with the Bills, there's a good chance he might play. So, there's that. And then questionable, we got Lester Cotton, Liam Eichenberg, Javon Holland, Xavier Howard, Austin Jackson, Raheem Mostert, who said he's playing on Wednesday, and Jalen Ramsey popped up on the injury report today. Limited in practice, questionable to play. Not good with that many players on the injury report. I'm actually now scared to look at the injury report for Sunday's game because if they are missing big names like Jalen Ramsey Xavier Howard, a couple of the offensive linemen, they're going to lose to the Baltimore Ravens, and that's just a fact. So they need these guys to play. Now you look at the Ravens side, Jalen Armour-Davis, backup corner, concussion out, doesn't really mean anything. The names that matter on this list are Zay Flowers, questionable with a calf injury, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday, limited today, he's questionable. Kyle Hamilton, sprained MCL, didn't practice today, questionable. And Brandon Stevens, ankle injury. Full practice on Wednesday, but didn't practice Thursday or Friday. If one of these guys can't go, that's huge. Especially Kyle Hamilton. If he can't go, if say him and Stevens can't go, that is big for this matchup against the Miami Dolphins offense. So that is going to be big, big, big to look out for come 11:30 on Sunday. Let's get into this game. Let's dive into this Yamba Jam. The over-under in this game is 47, and the Baltimore Ravens are 3-point favorites. They are 3-point favorites to win this game against the Miami Dolphins. First, we're going to talk about the Dolphins offense against the Ravens defense. So we look at the stats. I'm on CBS Sports. The Miami Dolphins are first overall in offense with 411.5 yards per game. The Ravens defense is ranked 5th with 297.5 yards allowed per game. The Dolphins passing offense is ranked 1st with 286 passing yards per game. The Ravens passing defense is ranked 9th with 222 yards allowed per game through the air. It's going to be a tough challenge against this Ravens secondary. But as I just said, if Stevens isn't out there, if Kyle Hamilton isn't out there, that makes a difference. That makes a big difference. And the Dolphins' rushing offense is ranked 5th, 136.5 yards per game. Ravens' run defense is ranked 12th with 103.5 yards allowed per game on the ground. So, I want to talk about this Ravens defense real quick because they won this game. In my opinion, the offense was great, but the Ravens defense was the reason why the Ravens won this game. They made Brock Purdy panic. And when everything wasn't going right for Brock Purdy shit the bed. Brock Purdy threw 4 interceptions against the Ravens on Monday night. And I will tell you, 3 of them were his fault. The one where he threw to George Kittle and it was tipped up into the air, I would not say that's his fault. The first interception, which was caught by Kyle Hamilton, I would say that's his fault. He threw it to who he thought was wide open, Brandon Ayuk. Kyle Hamilton comes right underneath, gets the interception. The second interception, where they're running this formation and they have wide receivers inside the numbers, and they throw a screen to Debo. He's got a defender right in his face. He's got Brandon Stevens right in his face. Yet he still throws the ball. It's tipped up in the air, and Marlon Humphrey comes down with the interception. Why would you throw that pass? That's just a bad idea from Brock Purdy on that play, and then they're down 30-12. He literally throws it right to, I believe it was Patrick Queen. He literally throws it right to Patrick Queen for the easy interception. This Ravens defense was flying all over the field on Monday night against the San Francisco 49ers. They still allowed way over 400 yards. But the key reason that they won was they had 5 interceptions, and Brock Purdy was holding on to the ball way too long. And something that Tua is good at doing is getting rid of the ball very quickly. And that's what he needs to do against this Ravens defense. Now, this Ravens defense is great at playing fast-paced, straightforward football. So I believe the misdirections in the running game, they're going to need to do that for the Miami Dolphins. They're going to have to come up. McDaniel is going to have to come up with creative running plays for the Miami Dolphins in this game to get Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane and Jeff Wilson going in this game. And one thing besides that they love to do is they love to defend the middle of the field with Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. And I know a lot of people go out there and say the San Francisco 49ers with Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw had the best linebacker duo. I would actually take Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen over Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. I actually think Roquan Smith is probably the best linebacker in the NFL. And I can tell you this, rewatching that game from last year, the Ravens sent a lot of 3-man pass rushers, dropping 9 in coverage. I do think that the Ravens are going to try to take away the middle of the field for the Miami Dolphins and make Tua throw outside the numbers. So that's going to be big. And with Jalen Waddle out, it's going to be big for this offense because now the Ravens are going to be dialed in on stopping Tyreek Hill. So I think McDaniel has to come up with a game plan where Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, and Durham Smythe play big roles in the passing game. Durham Smythe had his best game this season for the Miami Dolphins when he had 5 catches for 56 yards. I think we're going to see more Durham Smythe this week against the Ravens and get Mostert and Achane opportunities in the passing game. Other receivers are going to have to step up as well. I'm looking at a guy like Cedric Wilson. Cedric Wilson has to step up against the Baltimore Ravens. It seems like outside of Tyreek and Waddle, Tua trusts Cedric Wilson the most with deep ball passes. We've seen him make deep ball passes to him in the Eagles game, in the game against the Chiefs, where he threw it in the red zone for 30 yards. I think it was the Raiders game. He got a toe tap in there for like 27, 28. So I do feel like that Tua does trust Cedric Wilson in that aspect of the game. So I think that he's going to have to rely on Cedric Wilson. And another guy that I'm looking at that really has to step up is a guy like Braxton Berrios, who got high targets in earlier this season and was actually looking really good. Matter of fact, this season, Tua had one of his better plays when he threw the ball to Braxton Berrios right before halftime against the Patriots to get the Dolphins down to the 2-yard line. That was one of Tua's best plays of the season. So I'm looking at Cedric Wilson and Braxton Berrios to step up. Keys for this game, for the offense, number one, you can't turn the ball over. What was one of the biggest differences in the game against the Dallas Cowboys? The Dolphins did not turn the ball over. First drive, Dak Prescott fumbles at the 1-yard line, and the Dolphins recovered. That one turnover changed the game. The tackle by Deshaun Elliott changed the game. If Deshaun Elliott does not make that tackle, the Dolphins don't beat the Cowboys. If Dak Prescott doesn't fumble the football, handing it off to the fullback, the Dolphins lose that game to the Dallas Cowboys. And if you turn the ball over, as we saw on Monday night with the San Francisco 49ers throwing 5 interceptions, the Ravens are going to score. And they're going to score touchdowns. So we can't turn the ball over. I don't need no silly throws from Tua. No snapping miscommunications between Tua and Eichenberg. No fumbles. We need a clean game on the offensive side. We need a clean game. Number 2, get rid of the ball quickly. Get rid of the ball quickly, man. They're going to be coming at you fast. The Ravens fly around on defense, and Tua was a master at getting rid of the ball quickly. And that final drive to Tyreek Hill on 2 throws, 2nd and 1, Tyreek Hill for 8 yards. The screen on 3rd and 3 to set them out for a first down. Very quick screen pass to get Tyreek Hill first down. Tua is going to have to get rid of the ball quickly to Tyreek Hill and his other receivers in this game. And number 3, as I just said, somebody else other than Tyreek Hill is going to have to step up in the passing game. Because now with Jalen Waddle out, that changes things for this offense. And I have full confidence that Mike McDaniel has been game planning for that, knowing probably early in the week, hey, Jalen Waddle's not going to play on Sunday. We have to come up with the game plan. I bet you he's been dialing up since Monday. So, these other receivers, they're going to have to step up. Guys like Cedric Wilson, guys like Berrios, Durham Smythe, the running backs, Mostert and Achane, they're going to have to step up in the passing game. So those are my 3 keys on offense. What did I just say? No turnovers, getting rid of the ball quickly, and other receivers, other than Tyreek Hill, have to step up in the passing game. Let's talk about the Dolphins' defense against the Baltimore Ravens' offense. Let's talk about it. The Dolphins' defense is ranked 3rd with 296.5 yards allowed per game. The Miami Dolphins are a top 3 defense in the NFL. They have a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. But so do the Baltimore Ravens. And that's what makes this game so damn fascinating. The Ravens have the 5th overall offense with 372 yards per game. Dolphins passing defense is ranked 11th with 229 passing yards allowed. Ravens passing offense is ranked 21st with 226.5 passing yards per game. And the Dolphins running defense is ranked 5th with 90.5 rushing yards allowed per game. However, the Baltimore Ravens are ranked 1st with 159.5 rushing yards per game. That is going to be the main priority, is to contain Lamar Jackson and make him throw in the pocket. If I'm Vic Fangio, I'm putting a spy on Lamar Jackson. I don't know who it's going to be, whether it's Javon Holland if he plays, whether it's Brandon Jones, whether it's one of the linebackers. If I'm Vic Fangio, I'm putting a spy on Lamar Jackson. Somebody has to have their eyes on Lamar at all times. All times. That's how scary this guy is. And when you think he's about to get sacked, he finds a way to escape, runs with the football, and makes a play downfield. Example, Sunday Night Football against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jerron Smoot had Lamar for a sack. Lamar got out of that play, scrambled to the left a little bit, threw it to Isaiah Likely, and he got it down to the 5-yard line. That was probably his best play of the entire season, Lamar Jackson. He's had so many other fantastic plays where you think he's going to run with his feet, and he throws. He's not only dangerous with his feet, but he's dangerous with his arm. And right now, with the plays he's making, Lamar Jackson is having a generational season for the Baltimore Ravens. I said this in my last video too, if you want to go ahead and check it out. The Baltimore Ravens offensive line actually allows pressures. The issue is teams just aren't getting home. They can't bring down Lamar Jackson because Lamar Jackson finds a way to get out of the pocket and make plays. So obviously, that's going to be the biggest key in this game for the defense. And we'll get into the 3 keys right now. Number 1, you have to contain Lamar Jackson. And somebody, I guess we'll go 2 and 1 here. You have to contain Lamar Jackson, and somebody has to have their eyes on Lamar Jackson at all times. There has to be a spy on Lamar Jackson. So, because we cannot have him scrambling down the field for 20-plus yards, getting out of pressures, throwing it to Zay Flowers for 30 yards. We can't have that. And that needs to be stopped. That's going to be the biggest game. That's going to be the biggest thing for this defense, is containing Lamar Jackson. It's easy to say, but it's very, very difficult to do. Number 2, stopping the run. So, stopping Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, they're fine running backs. The Ravens losing Keaton Mitchell is big. I don't think it's going to have a huge effect on them. But the one guy you got to stop in this running game is Lamar Jackson. You've got to stop Lamar Jackson. And as I'm looking at the stats now, Gus Edwards is a end zone machine with 12 touchdowns on the season so far. The main guy you got to stop in the running game is Lamar Jackson when he takes off with his feet. Can't let him get any big runs like he did last year. Can't be allowing 75-yard touchdowns. And this is under a different defensive coordinator, but the Dolphins last year struggled against mobile quarterbacks. They struggled against Josh Allen. They struggled against Justin Fields. They struggled against Lamar Jackson. And here we go again. Another mobile quarterback who runs with his legs in Lamar Jackson. They have to stop it. They have to. And the third and final key is locking down the receivers. Their receivers are decent. They don't have the best receiving core in the NFL. We don't know if Zay Flowers is going to play. I would guess he's going to. That's my guess. So he'll probably be in the slot lined up against Kato Kohu, which I'm not going to lie. With the speed of Zay Flowers, I'm worried about that matchup. I'm very worried about that matchup. But Jalen Ramsey against OBJ, two former teammates, that's going to be fun. X looking to get revenge on Rashad Bateman, giving up a 75-yard touchdown to him. This secondary needs to be on lockdown on Sunday against these guys so that Lamar Jackson can't go off and find open guys downfield when he's getting out of the pocket. The play is not over until the whistle is blown. So those are my keys, man. This is going to be the hardest and toughest game of the season for the Miami Dolphins. They're going to a very hostile environment where they have lost this year. The Browns, with Deshaun Watson, went into their house and beat them. The Indianapolis Colts went into their house and beat them. They lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they can be beaten. The stadium is going to be electric. It's probably the biggest home game. That's probably the biggest regular season home game in the Lamar Jackson era for the Baltimore Ravens. I expect M&T Bank Stadium to be rocking on Sunday. I'm going to be wearing my Dolphins colors. I wouldn't want it any other way. But I think there'll be a lot of Dolphin fans there. Dolphin fans travel well this year. So I'm excited, man. I'm very, very excited, and I'm very nervous at the same time. This is probably, it could be game of the year. It really could be. I just hope the Dolphins shut these people up. They make them eat shit and go to Baltimore and not only win the division, but take over as the top team in the NFL. Or not in the NFL, the AFC. You know what I mean. But guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll have a vlog up on Sunday night with my reaction live from the Dolphins-Ravens game. Hopefully it's a Miami Dolphins dub. If so, oh my God, New Year's Eve is going to be so electric on Sunday night. It's going to be so electric if the Dolphins find a way to get this dub. So, let's go Fins, baby. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Comment down below. If you're a Dolphins or a Ravens fan, leave me your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter at Colin_Joseph. Guys, I will post a vlog on Sunday night sometime. It depends when I get home, so I will let you know on Twitter. But have a good night, stay safe, and as always, stay classy. Fins up. I'm out. Peace.